of one of the worst tornado outbreaks in East Texas history. But we have the second severe weather season in the fall.
We're going to start to slowly change color, just like these leaves have started to turn red.
It was the second hottest June through August on record for Tyler.
Devote little patches of the land that we have to take care of to them.
When those three clocks are aligned is when patients typically do best and have their best sleep.
Good evening, everyone. I'm CBS19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony. Welcome to our fall weather special, From Heat to Harvest, or as we like to call it, STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. But in this instance, the M stands for meteorology.
And I'm Colleen Campbell. I'll be talking about the dangers of fog and reduced visibility, as well as one pollinator that has been placed on the endangered list.
I'm meteorologist Chandler Jordan, and coming up later in the program, we're going to talk about this summer's drought and the impact that it had on grounds crews across East Texas.
Pumpkins, we think more about those in fall than we do in severe weather, but did you know we have a second severe weather season in the fall? In fact, one of the worst tornado outbreaks in East Texas occurred in November 1987. Here's a look back. Those are the sounds that remind us of one of the worst tornado outbreaks in East Texas history. And it wasn't the typical springtime tornado outbreak. Instead, 5 tornadoes tore a 33-mile path across South and East Texas on November 15, 1987. This is archived video from our sister station, WFAA in Dallas. It shows a scarred clock from the tornado near Palestine. These headlines from the Palestine newspaper are a piece of history. A strong tornado demolished mobile homes in Jacksonville, damaged more in Mixon, and then in White House. 4 people died and scores were hurt. Monty Johnson remembers November 15th.
I was at Love's Lookout down in the valley.
One of the tornadoes hit the house where Johnson sheltered at Love's Lookout.
You could hear things hitting in the house. A telephone pole went through the wall in the room above us.
When the roar of the tornado stopped, Johnson crawled out of the damaged house and found a working phone.
I called my roommate who worked here at the hospital in the ER. I worked in the ICU, and she told me to get here as quick as I could because they were getting loaded up with patients. And we wound up checking in about 65 patients in about 2 hours that had been injured from the debris. And
the debris and tornado blasted apart hundreds of buildings. It tore the roof off the Earls Chapel Community Church. Ben Mims was 9, but remembers where the roof landed.
It was, I want to say it was tossed back over that way, if I remember correctly, and they'd put some braces in here to keep the ceiling from collapsing until they were able to put a new roof on it.
The tornado also knocked over headstones in the century-old cemetery. Several thunderstorms raced across South and East Texas. It was a Sunday afternoon. Patty Rodewall was watching a play at the Lamplight Theater in Nacogdoches. Thankfully, it was thunderstorms, not tornadoes, that knocked out power, but somehow the show went on.
Some of the people in the cast backstage and a few of the members of the audience went out to their cars and they got their flashlights and kneeled down at the edge of the stage, shone them on the stage, and the small orchestra hit up. The performance proceeded as normal, and it was one of the most awe-inspiring things I ever saw.
Patty volunteers with Patsy McLeod at the Love's Lookout Visitor Center. The November 1987 tornado hit close to here, and it's why she stays prepared for bad weather all year long.
We take it very seriously. It's bad weather, and we act accordingly when we hear it's coming.
It's encouraging to hear people talk about how they take fall severe weather season seriously, but how can we get better prepared? We came here to the Smith County chapter of the American Red Cross to find out.
And most of these things you probably have at home already.
The Red Cross's Karen Holt walked us through the basics of the emergency kit. Food and water for 3 days for you and your pets. Cell phone chargers, batteries, a first aid kit, a weather radio, and don't forget clothing. Holt recommends practicing your emergency plan because disaster knows no season.
I will tell you, just in recent couple of weeks, within a 24-hour time, we had flooding, we had tornadoes, and we had some home fires. And so being prepared at all times, it's very critical.
It's been 35 years since one of the worst tornado outbreaks in East Texas. Monty Johnson is finally over the fear of severe weather, but admits she doesn't want to live through a day like that ever again.
I sure don't. Sure don't.
In Cherokee County, I'm CBS 19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony.
Fall. You know it's arrived by the smell of pumpkin spice in the air, flannels making their return, and the night sky being lit up by fair rides. You know, it's also this time of year where Mother Nature starts to tell us she's ready for change too. Over these next couple of weeks, all of these gorgeous, beautiful shades of green behind me are going to start to slowly change color, just like these leaves have started to turn red. But how exactly does that process happen?
There's three main reasons for it. The first one is that the plants are saving energy. Plants are green because they are making a molecule called chlorophyll, primarily in their leaves, to harvest energy from sunlight and to turn it into food. So it's an energy budget thing. They start breaking down the chlorophyll molecules as the season changes, as indicated by cues from the change in day length and change in temperature.
When this happens, important nutrients such as nitrogen are transferred from the leaves to the core of the plant, which begins the gradual change in luscious greens, becoming bright yellows and reds. Other environmental factors can cause these changes too.
Okay, number two has to do with wind dynamics. The winter months are windier, and a tree that doesn't have any leaves is much more likely to withstand a severe windstorm than a tree that has its leaves on it and where the leaves are acting like a sail.
Even bugs are able to cause plants and trees to continue this process of change.
The third reason has to do with insect pests. By the winter months, the leaves are chewed up by insects, and by dropping those leaves, the trees get a chance to start fresh in the spring.
Living in East Texas, we know that October can still be very warm. So when will we finally start to see the leaves change colors?
They really start changing around the end of October, with peak being about the second or third week in November.
If you and your family are looking to get outdoors to enjoy the crisp air and take in the changing foliage, here's a few places we'd recommend you try out.
Well, of course, I'm going to pick my favorite place, and that's Tyler State Park. Dangerfield State Park is gorgeous. Mineola Nature Preserve is a really neat place to see. And like the Tyler Azalea District, those trees are going to be changing. You get the beautiful homes, the beautiful yards. It's a great place to see.
Now, unfortunately, there's probably going to be a few trees that won't make it through the fall due to the drought from this summer, or a gusty day due to thunderstorms or a cold front passing through. But once we hit the middle and end of November, I'd absolutely recommend getting out and about and taking in some of the beautiful views of an East Texas fall.
Probably drier than normal as well, so that means, unfortunately, continuation and even worsening of the drought.
Most of the time it is in our rural areas that we have most of our fog-related crashes, just because of the lack of lighting.